The Grammys had just proven yet again that they hate Beyonce. A recent tweet went viral talking about how the Grammys have separated the Country Album Award into two different awards. Basically, the Contemporary Country Album and the Best Traditional Country Album. And in parentheses, they put Black artists and white artists. Contemporary equals black, traditional equals white. And somebody quote retweeted that this happens a year after Beyonce wins Best Country Album for her album Cowboy Carter. And people were like, okay, I could see, yeah. I mean, the Grammys are racist. I mean, Macklemore won over Good Kid, Mad City. Like, of course the Grammys are racist, There's a whole big discussion talking about racism in music industry and how it plays a part in the gentrification of certain genres of music. And what I will say is, I do think it's ironic that they put traditional country album as the white artist, because if we all know the pioneers of country and blues, it's black artists. It goes back to that saying of they love the music but they don't love who sings it kind of sentiment. And there's a whole discussion about gentrification. I mean, if we look at rock music, even now with the rap, R&B, it all becomes like super popular with the growth and the artistic experimentation from black artists. They get it to a point where it becomes so commercially incentivized for the white labels and the white industry artists to jump on it and to say like, oh, we're gonna start making this style of music so we can make it really popular because we know our white fans who aren't willing to listen to black artists are gonna give us a chance, and then they're gonna hear us. They're gonna start thinking that we're the best. Eminem, Miley Cyrus, Elvis, like there's plenty of different examples of white artists adopting black sounds and then them reaching the tops of fame, and then black artists struggle to even get half the level. You have to work twice as hard to get this like half the credit. And do I think this instance of Beyonce and the Grammys is an instance of that? Not necessarily. I'm not gonna speak so like adamantly for the Grammys. I'm not part of the board. I don't know whether they're doing these intentional decisions with a racist mindset or anything like that. But if I look at previous examples or previous, decisions, you could paint a picture in your own head. If you look at jazz, if you look at R&B, and if you look at Latin music, one thing you could say is that these are predominantly people of color genres of music. R&B is predominantly dominated by black people, so is jazz, at least in the beginning. Maybe now the more classical and the more sophisticated is gone, it's became, more dominant by white people, but that's a whole different discussion. I'm not sure about jazz. And then there's Latin music, which is obviously dominated by Latin people. And one thing these three all have in common, alongside with country now, is that they do subgenre awards for the genre. They do alternative R&B, traditional R&B, they do solo singing jazz albums, instrumental, big ensemble, Latin jazz, they do Latin pop, Latin, music urbana, music urbana Latin music. They do a whole bunch of subgenre awards for best whatever genre it is. And nobody ever looks back at that and says oh my God, the Grammys are racist. I think the reason why the Grammys chose to separate country is not for black artists and white artists. It might have a little to play in it. I'm giving them a little bit of doubt, I guess you could say, is because country is growing in popularity. It's one of the few genres of music that has a very steady, high, audience, popularity. And black artists are getting more and more into country with every year. With the help of Shabuzi, Lil Nas X, and Beyonce just in the past couple of years, a lot more black people are willing to give country artists a chance. And what that comes along is somebody being influenced to make a country album. Now, that doesn't mean they're gonna make a traditional, bluesy kind of country album. They might start adding elements of R&B, jazz, rap. I mean, trap country is a very popular subgenre that's growing now. So do I think these albums that have elements of different things outside of country, mixing that with, traditional country albums and seeing which one's the best country album, I do think there should be a separation of the two. Now, I'm not saying they should get rid of the best country album award in general. I think there should be three. Best country album, where they put all of them up against each other, the best traditional and the best contemporary. I think that solves everybody's problem. If they only separate it to two, then it's an issue where it's just okay, if I start to see a trend where only white people win the traditional and only black or other people of color only win the contemporary, then I'm gonna call it out. But in this point of them separated too because the popularity is growing, I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's racist to say that. But I will say they do not like Beyonce. They will not give her album of the year. And she's been in the industry for like, what, 30 years now? 30, 40 years almost? And she's never won album of the year. That's my biggest gripe with the Grammys and Beyonce is like, she should have at least won for Renaissance or Lemonade or, well, Lemonade, she had a tough competition because who won that year? I think it was Adele and her 25 album, which that's a tough album to beat. I understand it's Beyonce and Adele, but depends, it's a flip of a coin in my opinion. But she should have won for sure for Renaissance, like over Harry Styles. Like I like the Harry Styles album, but I don't think it was better than Renaissance. And it's just a whole thing that everybody knows that Beyonce she is the most recognized artist in terms of like artists recognize her a lot. They always give her credit. It got to a point where people are thinking that this is some like humiliation ritual kind of like Illuminati thing, that if you're a woman artist who raises to the rank, you have to give your credit or like some type of appreciation towards Beyonce.
It's of my life, it's Beyonce and this album for me. Appreciate that, and all us artists here, we fucking adore you. You are our light, and I love you. I always have, and I always.
Beyonce and I started out around the same time, and just like all of her fans, I fell in love with her. The first time I saw her, from her singing to dancing to acting, she can do it all. She's a triple threat, and one of the most talented people I've ever seen.
The Grammy goes to Lizzo for About That.
She knows.
Beyonce, whoo.
She knows.
You changed my life. You sang that gospel medley, and the way you made me feel, I was like, I want to make people feel this way with my music. So thank you so much. You clearly are the artist of our lives. Hey,
Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
That's just a weird coincidence. I don't think it's anything that deep. But yeah, the Beehive is gonna go at the Grammys for this, unless she wins Best Traditional Country Album, which I think she has what it takes to do that. But do I think it's racist to separate subgenres and albums and awards and all this? It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, look at the Country Music Awards. They didn't even nominate Beyonce for Cowboy Carter. Like, she didn't even get Album of the Year at the Country Music Awards. Like, we know where the real country racist, industry artist people are at. Like, they're over there. And we'll just have to see what goes on from here. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think the Grammys are racist, or do you think it's just a lack of information kind of ordeal? So you guys let me know.